You usually don't remember your dreams. Or maybe you do, but you specifically remember this one. Perhaps you are running a fever, sleeping in an unfamiliar location. Maybe you just slept weirdly. Either way, you're here now. But where are you? It's familiar, isn't it? You've been here, surely, right? No, you know you have never been here. It's nostalgic, but something's eerie about this place. It's silent, empty. Where did all the people go?
Hello?
You feel lonely? Possibly even scared? Not panic scared, but a looming ambient fear. A pressure. It's uncanny. Now remember this word because we're going to be coming back to it at some point. Liminal space. These are places of transition. Places that probably had people in them, but for some reason do not. Most likely it's a place you have been to or seen somewhere before, but now abandoned. Places of nostalgia that you've once seen or something mundane that just feels off when you remove the people, the life, from the space. Liminal space has been used for that effect for a while, especially in media. The pilot episode of The Twilight Zone is a great example of early uses of it in media, but you probably know it from ARGs like The Sun Vanished, Where Is Everybody, a TikTok ARG, and even more popular, The Backrooms. This feeling of eerie abandonment is best coined as knopsia by the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, a dictionary of neologisms that attempt to name and define vague or complex emotions and feelings. Knopsia, coming from the Greek words kenosis, emptiness, and opsia, seeing, is defined as the eerie, forlorn atmosphere of a place that's usually bustling with people, but is now abandoned and quiet. School hallway in the evening, non-lit office on the weekend, vacant fairgrounds, an emotional afterimage that makes it seem not just empty, but hyper-empty, with a total population in the negative, who are so conspicuously absent they glow like neon signs. So, feelings of transition, nostalgia, and knopsia. What else makes liminal space? Well, this new trend of imagery in photography has its roots in surrealism, but differs from traditional surrealistic art in how it evokes a sense of familiarity or bond. Let's look at this book series that you may be familiar with if you were born in the late 90s or early 2000s, I Spy. I Spy is a picture book series aimed at children that tasks the reader with locating specific objects or words in a crowded picture. Interestingly, I Spy has a multitude of pictures that people claim elicit that lonely or unnerving feeling despite being densely populated, almost the opposite of knopsia. You could argue it's not liminal space at all because it lacks the silence that we've seen so far. Why then does it give off that lonely and unnerving feeling? Is it because of nostalgia? The dream-like surreal environment and lighting? Or is it the uncanny feeling of something being almost natural but not quite? Although hard to precisely determine, you could point out that it uses most of the building blocks of liminal space that we have already defined. Think of these building blocks as ingredients in a recipe, each of these ingredients being important elements to produce that unnerving feeling. Knopsia, surrealism, nostalgia, transition, and the uncanny. These are the ingredients of anxiety. Yes, that feeling was anxiety. It should have been obvious, but for some reason, it wasn't. Think about each of these ingredients alone. Knopsia. Empty and silent. Too silent. A forest where the birds don't chirp and the wind is nowhere to be seen. A still forest. A forest so unusually unalive that you feel a weight. A pressure. Where did the birds go? Why can't I see the trees sway and the wind howl? It's not fear, for there is no immediate threat. It's his brother. Anxiety. How about surrealism then? Familiarity but warped and chaotic. It's a distorted world, entropy, corruption, How did it get this way? A feeling of vulnerability, anxiety, of the surprising and bizarre. Nostalgia, for it's safe and predictable. Alone, it's comforting, but mix it with anything else and the safe place becomes a trap. When your comfort is distorted, anxiety creeps in. For transition, the anxiety comes from the unknown, transitioning to the next part without knowing what comes next, leaving a comfort for something new. You don't know what lies ahead, and that is where the anxiety comes from. Lastly, we get to the Uncanny Valley. I mentioned earlier we would get here eventually, and here we are. It's the negative response to something that should be human being, well, not human. Again, the theme of distortion and familiarity come into play. It's something you recognize, something that you can instinctually relate to, but twisted. Anxiety. That the human-looking thing is a trap or deception. A repulsive, abjected anxiety. At the core of these ingredients is the uneasy dread that is the emotion anxiety. Unlike fear, which is quick and responsive, anxiety is the long con. To use Outlast as an example, fear would be being jumped by Chris Walker and having to panic and flee to the best of your abilities. Anxiety would be the slow navigation and exploration of the asylum, anticipating and dreading what lies around every corner. These ingredients are combined to different effects in various mediums. For example, some of the music that has been playing during the video comes from the caretaker Everywhere at the End of Time. The caretaker masterfully implements nostalgia and transition here to represent dementia's slow descent into confusion and horror. It's a hauntingly beautiful 6-hour-long journey that will take you through the 6 stages of dementia. In an interview with Pitchfork, Kirby, the musician behind the caretaker and Everything at the End of Time, claims that although he may not have dementia, the caretaker, the persona, does. He claims to have given the project dementia. You should really give this a listen, by the way. It's some powerful stuff. Continuing on, the mixture of nostalgia and canopsia is particularly trendy lately, as people have been reportedly experiencing that feeling of anxiety while exploring empty multiplayer maps in games like Worlds.net or Half-Life Deathmatch. These elements work great in horror, which we can see from the rise in popularity of creepypastas, SCP, ARGs, and even the trend of nostalgia-based horror. Look at the massive success of Petscop, a haunted game designed to be nostalgic of the PlayStation 1 era. This psychological-based horror is here to stay. Anxiety is a powerful tool that can be difficult to nail down correctly in media, but will continue to be mastered and evolved. That evolution and innovation is something to be excited for. So yeah, this was a different type of video. As you can tell, it's a little bit more essay-ish, kind of more horror-driven. I wanted to dissect liminal space and see what makes it work. Why does liminal space give off such an unnerving effect? And that's what I did here, so that's what this is about. Anyways, I'm going to put the sources and everything up right now. So here they are right now. And yeah, like, comment, and subscribe if you like stuff like this. And that should be it. Goodbye. Have a sweet day or night.